On mornings like this, I feel surrounded and invisible at the same time. I move through a world that speaks my language, uses my tools, even wants my attention. And yet, some part of me still feels like a visitor. I am too young to fully belong to Gen X, too old to feel like a native millennial, too fluent with technology to be analog, but too shaped by the analog world to feel truly digital. People like me have a name now, Xennials, born roughly between 1976 and 1985. Old enough to remember a world before the internet felt permanent. Young enough to have built careers inside it.
Sometimes I catch myself wondering, standing in a subway like this, what exactly am I? And why do I feel like I don't fully belong anywhere?
To explain that quiet dislocation, I have to do something simple but uncomfortable. Rewind my life. Not to prove I'm special, but to show you what it feels like to be formed at a fault line. Most generations inherit a culture. My generation inherited a transformation. We were children in one kind of reality and adults in a completely different one. So let me start where it really began. In a slower, smaller world where waiting wasn't a bug in the system, it was just life. It's a school night in the late 80s. There's one television in the house. No streaming, no play next episode, no algorithm choosing what I watch.
I know exactly when my favorite show starts. If I miss it, that's it. I wait a whole week. No catching up later.
That kind of waiting sounds small, but it's an emotional training ground. You learn that life doesn't rearrange itself around your impulses. You plan, you accept disappointment, you live with it. There's one phone too, a landline, anchored to the wall like a piece of furniture. I stand there, listening to half a conversation, waiting for my turn to call a friend.
Are you almost done? I whisper, not wanting to interrupt, but unable to hide the impatience.
Sometimes no one picks up. Sometimes I leave a message on an answering machine and then nothing. No read receipts, no three little dots. Just silence and the possibility that they'll call back someday. That uncertainty becomes normal. You make plans and accept that people might be late or not show up. You can't track them. You can't text, "Where are you?" You just wait and assume the best. Even memories arrive slowly. We drop off film, then wait days to see what actually happened. Every envelope of photos is a small ceremony, surprises, ruined shots, one or two keepers you guard like treasure.
Photos are rare enough that when someone points a camera at you, you pay attention. You stand still. You know this moment won't be repeated 1,000 times from every angle.
Boredom exists, too, in long, uninterrupted stretches. Afternoons with nothing to do but stare at the ceiling, wander outside, or lie on the floor and let your mind drift. That was the emotional atmosphere that raised me. Pauses, gaps, and privacy by default. No constant audience, no instant replies, no pressure to be reachable at all times. I didn't know it then, But those slow rhythms were teaching my nervous system what normal felt like: patience, delay, the idea that you could disappear for a while without anyone asking where you went. And all of that would matter later, when adulthood arrived in a world that no longer believed in pauses at all. Then, almost quietly, the future walked into my room and sat on my desk. The first time I heard dial-up, it sounded like a machine trying to talk and choke at the same time. Screeches, beeps, a long, uncertain pause, and then, suddenly, connection.
I remember staring at the screen, watching a single page load line by line, thinking, this is slow, but it's kind of magic.
In those early days, the internet was an extra room, not the whole house. You went there on purpose. You logged on, explored a little, logged off, and went back to real life. The phone line still won arguments. If someone needed to make a call, the connection died. The online world felt fragile, temporary, almost like a hobby. I was excited, curious, even a little obsessed. Email felt like magic letters that flew instead of crawled. Message boards were secret clubs where strangers talked about the same niche things I loved.
But underneath that excitement, there was an assumption I didn't know I was making, that the digital world would always stay sidecar, never the main engine.
Teachers started giving speeches about learning computers because the future is digital. Parents worried we were staring at screens too long. News segments warned about online dangers we barely understood. There was this growing sense that something big was coming, but no one could explain exactly what it would feel like to live inside it. For a while, my analog training and my digital curiosity coexisted. I still waited for photos to be developed, still called friends on the landline, and then checked my email once a day for a handful of messages. But by the time I stepped into adulthood, that balance snapped. My first real job was the moment I realized the rules had been rewritten while I wasn't looking. Overnight, email wasn't a novelty. It was the bloodstream of the entire workplace. Messages didn't arrive as occasional surprises. They stacked up, multiplied, demanded responses.
I remember opening my inbox on a Monday and feeling my chest tighten. New messages at the top, flagged messages in the middle, unanswered messages buried at the bottom like tiny accusations.
The pace of communication had changed without asking my nervous system for permission. Instead of waiting days for replies, people wanted answers in hours, sometimes minutes. Work bled into evenings through laptops and black and white cell phones that buzzed with texts. The idea that you were unreachable after you left the office started to feel unprofessional. At the same time, outside of work, a new kind of social life was being born on glowing screens. Friends began posting their lives online. Party photos, relationship updates, offhand thoughts that would have once vanished into the air. It was clunky compared to now, but the logic was already there. Share more, show more, be seen more.
That's when I started to feel a subtle split. The world that taught me how life works said, take your time, stay private, be reachable sometimes. This new world said, Respond now. Be visible. Stay available always.
My identity had been quietly built in a slower atmosphere, and suddenly I was expected to sprint inside a permanent group chat. I adapted because I had to. I learned shortcuts, answered emails faster, signed up for new platforms, got a smartphone when it stopped being optional. On the outside, I looked like I was keeping up, but on the inside, something more complicated was beginning. A quiet negotiation between who I'd been trained to be and who the new world needed me to become.